Welcome to the Shared Practices podcast. We are in season 6 on growth. And we've talked about marketing a little bit in this season. Ironically, we've talked about a lot of other things other than the actual acquiring of new patients, because we feel like that's not necessarily the biggest part of growth. That's a small piece of the puzzle, but it is important. At some point, you do have to start getting new patients. And so we had an interview with Dr. Laura or Lauren. I can't remember her fake name, but she had a problem where she bought a practice that was really small and now doesn't have a budget to invest and needs to grow and needs to get new patients. And the first person I thought of was, we need to get Michael Arias on. So Michael, welcome to the show.
Hey man, thanks for having me. It's pretty awesome to be on Shared Practices. Finally, Richard, finally. No, I'm just
I know. We Michael and I met the most random way possible. I got a message at like 11 at night one day, right before I was planning on going to Breakaway. And this was in December of 2018. And it was from Andy Tran. And it was this message, and it was like, hey, do you want to split an Airbnb? And I was like, yes. And then I started trying to figure out, how do I know Andy? And I started going through like when we ended up being friends on Facebook and like mutual. And I got to the point where I realized I don't know Andy, and I've just agreed to share an Airbnb with him. It was great.
Is that where we met? We met
That's
there?
where we met. I feel like, well, no. Maybe we met at VOD previous to that in 2018.
I think so.
I think we met at VOD in 2018. And then we shared an Airbnb. Yeah. And that's why, because it was going to be you and Andy and Andy's wife. And who else? Was there anyone else that shared the Airbnb?
I think there was somebody else. I don't remember.
Apologies to the fifth person. But
whoever that is.
Michael and I, were willing to share a bed. He ended up sleeping on the couch. We did not cuddle together on a bed, but it could have been, Michael.
Could have been. It could have been. Would have been pretty nice. But anyways,
we had a blast. So we've had many events together where we've just hung out and had a good time, especially with Ashley Hovez. You get the three of us in a room and it's going to be a good time.
Yeah. That was really fun times, man. One day we'll be able to do that all over again. Who knows?
I know. In this post-apocalyptic COVID world, eventually we'll have dental conferences again at some point.
Did they say anything about having Voices of Dentistry again or no?
I don't know at this point. I'm still, if it happens, I'm going, but I don't know at this point.
Yeah.
But I want to introduce you and what you do and what you're known for in your podcast. So Michael is known as the Ground Marketer. And you've got a podcast, you've got courses, you've done a lot of things for a lot of dentists. And most recently, you did a pediatric ground marketing. Like, was it a cohort, like a group of people together, like a group course, or was it an online course? What is it that you just launched?
The most recent thing is, are you familiar with Manal Sampat, right?
Yes, I've met her. I haven't had her on the show, and I think this season I'd like to. So we might connect.
Yeah. So at first I did the pediatric ground marketing course, and that was great and all. But then I was like, so here's the thing, like I never tried to act or anything like that where I say, hey, I know everything about marketing, because I don't, right? All I know really and what I focus on is ground marketing. So I created that part of the course and it did well. And then I was like, hey, what if we add the other side of it, right? Like the online and everything, like the strategies for online. And so that's where Manal came in. And so we combined both of it and we made a course called the Pediatric Dental Marketing Course for pediatric dentists or practice owners only. And then, we launched it.
Nice. Okay, cool. So that was when was the launch? Just recently here?
Yeah, man. It was like a week ago. It just closed for enrollment on Sunday. And we may open it back up next year, sometime in the spring, possibly. But there's a wait list. But other than that, I mean, we just closed it and it went really well. I mean, it's tons and tons of information on there and it continues to grow. And that's what I always want my courses to do. I always want them to continue to grow, meaning like, I'm going to have Richard on and he's going to talk about something specific, right? And he's going to have his own lesson on there. I'm going to have somebody else on. And we have to, because I mean, things are always changing, right? That's the most constant thing. So we have to continue to change the lessons in there and strategies and add more. So yeah, basically that's it.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, congrats on that. So let's go to this idea of ground marketing. If someone is unfamiliar with that term, what in the world does ground marketing mean?
So this is good. I guess the way I kind of just made up that term because it's a more sophisticated way of guerrilla marketing. That's what I like to say.
Okay.
So, for example, let's just say you have a practice right there, right? Like in your community in the middle. And then you look to your left, you see Starbucks, you see maybe Wells Fargo. Then you look ahead, you see schools, daycares, like a community, right? You see apartments behind you. There's a, a shopping strip, all these locations, small businesses, even corporations. And you're always wondering, I mean, we've always kind of thought about it, like how can I get the employees from there to come to my practice, or how
Hmm.
can I get their customers, or how can I just get the, I don't know, right, like the members from that gym to come here. And so that's what ground marketing is getting those people to come to your practice, going in there, getting the okay from whoever, saying, yeah, definitely come on in, talk to the employees, talk to the members, set up a booth or do some type of lunch and learn or whatever, right? Or maybe we can do a sign up sheet and then people can sign up. We can send a mass newsletter to all our team leaders in the corporation, letting them know about what you're going to be doing for us and so forth, right? That's what ground marketing is. But it's without paying anything. Like I never wanted
Hmm.
to, when I did this, I mean, me personally, I'd never had like, money to be like, yeah,
A
here's 50
budget.
bucks.
Yeah.
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 I was just like, I'm doing this and it's for free. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to pay for anything. So even if when the events, like, let's just say the Chamber of Commerce, right? The Chamber of Commerce will maybe throw an event and they say like, hey, you can sponsor it, be a part of this event. There's going to be 1,000 attendees for 500 bucks. I would say no. I'd figure out a way around it and still be able to get these in front of these people, get them in as new patients without paying. Because that's another thing. When I started, when I was ground marketing for a couple offices at the very beginning, I tried to start off with like learning SEO. I tried to start off with um, Facebook, social media, right?
Hmm.
And that's great. That's really, really great. I mean, I definitely recommend everybody does that. They should be doing that. But a lot of the times, the practice owner, she was like, "How many people did you bring in today?" And I was like, "I didn't bring anybody, but like this video got 1,000 views." She's like, "That doesn't mean anything to me."
I don't
Like,
care.
yeah, she's like, "Butts in chairs is what I want," and I was like, "Yeah,
You got hired because I was listening. I was just before this. I was trying to like find videos of you and different like stories of yours. And I was listening. Like you got hired to actually just be like an ambassador, like a salesperson for this practice, ground marketer for this practice. Go out, find me patients, get butts in chairs. Which I've
yeah."
never heard of a dentist like hiring someone to do that, which is really cool.
Yeah, so it wasn't really like the dentist, it was the consultant who recommended to the dentist to get someone like that.
Okay.
And so the consultant, he knew I used to be a nutritionist and everything like that. Actually, I worked with him. And then he's like, "Hey man, if you can just give me like a couple new patients this month, I'll pay you 1,000 bucks." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, yes, let's make that happen. Let me see how many sick days I got. Let me cut," you know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
after that, took the week. It was excruciating, man. Like um, the first, I think, like 12 hours I was out there in a whole day, I only got like one new, and that one new patient is still a patient of that practice, but it took that long. But I didn't really have the mentality like, oh my gosh, this is ridiculous, it's not worth it. I had it more where like I figured out one way. Let me make
This
it
is a
shorter.
challenge.
Yeah, and let me make it shorter, faster. Let me double it, triple it, quadruple it, and yeah, I just started doing that, and then after that, more dentists in the community kind of heard what I was doing, so they wanted to hire me, and I said yes to them. But I got spread too thin. Like I would
Right.
promise them, like, hey, yeah, I can bring you 30, 40, 50, easy. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I was never doing that because I worked for 4 practices, and they weren't even like next to each other. Some of them were like, if you're familiar with California, some were in Inland Empire, some were in Orange County, some were near like Newport and stuff like that. So I was getting spread too thin, the driving time. So that's when I just decided to start the dentalmarketer.org or .site. And that's the website. And I just started a blog and I was like, just writing my ideas down. Like, guys, if y'all want to know how to get into Costco, this is what you got to do, right? Say the script and everything. And then after that, I was like, okay, I'm tired of typing, because like
Yeah,
you can't keep up with it. And then I started a podcast. And the first like maybe 20 episodes, you can hear me just talking to myself, sharing my tactics, right? Like, hey, this is how you're going to get into the Chamber of Commerce without paying anything. This is how you're going to participate in ribbon cuttings without paying anything, right? Or doing stuff. Um, or getting to apartments and stuff like that. And then after that, that's when I started interviewing other dentists where I was like, hey, there's other people doing other amazing things. Let me see what they're doing. And then that skyrocketed from there. It just, we're here now. Yeah.
totally. No, and I love that because so I heard, and I just want to be clear, this is not for everyone. Not every dentist is going to be into this kind of thing, and you have to be in a situation sometimes where if you're trying to do some of this yourself as a dentist, that's a very startup type thing where you have more time than you have resources. And so you're willing to kind of hustle and grind and go out and create new patients for yourself. But like Howard Fran talks about, I don't know if he actually did this or if there was another dentist that he was talking with when they started their practice, went out and knocked doors in the community and basically just said, "Hey, I'm a new dentist. We open up here. I'm just trying to get information from people about like what you're looking for in a dentist so that I can kind of customize our practice and experience towards that." And like took notes from people. And a good portion of those people he talked with, he'd be like, "We also have openings if you haven't been to the dentist for a while or you're looking for a new dentist. We've got our new practice. We'd love for you to be part of our experience and what we're doing here." And ended up literally just knocking doors and getting a ton of new patients that way. Um, However, most dentists are not willing to do that. There's either too much pride, there's fear, there's shame, there's like, what if people say no? And are they going to think I'm desperate? And so I think some of these methods require an ability to put yourself out there and sometimes not always get the results you want, but also be able to bounce back when one idea doesn't work.
Mhm.
So I absolutely see this working. The question is whether or not people are willing to put in the effort to do it. So I want to hear some of examples of because it's hard with generalities. It's hard to be like, here are the general things you should do. But
Yeah.
specific stories, if you've had a dentist that you've worked with or someone who's taken your course that went out and was able to successfully apply this to get new patients, I think those are the most fun stories to tell. So is there any that come to mind about, I gave you the example at the beginning of this episode, a dentist who's bought a practice in the nicer area of her town, and she didn't spend a lot of money on the practice, so she doesn't have a lot of patients. She doesn't have a lot of money and marketing budget to work with, but she has more time and needs butts and chairs. So, what are some examples of a similar situation like that where the dentist is doing the ground marketing? They don't even have money to pay someone to go do this. They themselves are going to have to hustle, network, market themselves.
Yeah. Because a lot of the times right now, there's a lot of people who do delegate this ground marketing to somebody, right? Like the front office, or they
Right.
just get somebody. But yeah, at the very beginning, if you're like have a tight budget, it's all you. And that's the thing. Yeah, you're right. It was Howard Friend who did door to door. I never really done that, but I think it's effective if you tried. But the thing is like just in everything you do, you have to execute. Like you have to make moves, right? You can't just wish for stuff and that. So a good example is like, for example, some people a lot of the times they people who attempt ground marketing, um, they come to me and they're like, "Hey, I tried and I don't think it worked." And I'm like, "What'd you do?" And they said, "Well, I went in there, grabbed a gift basket and dropped off a gift basket at the front. And then I said, hey, if you guys need a dentist, contact me." And I said, where in any of my teachings or anything that I talk about do I say to do that? Like there is in every single strategy and tactic when it comes to ground marketing. This is why I say it's a little bit more sophisticated than guerrilla marketing. You have to get an exchange of something. Meaning, I have to know you're coming to my practice. I have to get your name, your number. I have to come back eventually to pick up some sign up sheet or something like that, right? Something has to happen. It can't just be like, hey, I hope stuff happens. And then you walk away and like, that felt great. I mean, it feels great, but hope doesn't really pay the bills, right? It's butts in chairs. So that's the thing. And I think a lot of the times we do psych ourselves out. So, for example, I have some experiences where they would go, for example, let's just say like, let's just talk about now, right? Like post COVID, or not
Okay.
post, but like, what are we? Post
Mid,
shutdown, right? Yeah,
yeah.
like mid. Is Indiana still
In the
shut down or
world
no?
today, as of 2020, which will be different in 3 months, the world will be on fire in some other way in 2020.
California is on fire right now. But so basically, I mean, a lot of the times when it was like the grocery store, right? Some people wonder, like, okay, so how do I get inside the Bonds or the Whole Foods or whatever like that, right? Because some grocery stores even allow you to set up outside, some don't. But they all will allow you to do some sort of communication with them, depending on
Hmm,
how you approach them. So a lot of the times, for example, people think like, okay, let me just go in there and say, hey, you know what, I'm the dentist. I'm new in the neighborhood. If you guys need one, come on in. No, like don't do that no more, right? I don't want anybody to do that anymore because that is, I mean, we were doing that a long, long time ago, right? You have to figure out a way to say, how am I going to win them over? So it's as simple as, I mean, you don't even have to walk in. You can call and
right.
just ask to speak to the manager or the supervisor, right? Um, and then once you start speaking to the manager or the supervisor, you can say like, "Hi, I'm Richard. I'm Michael. I'm with the dental office right next to you." Even if you're not next to them, you can just say, "I'm right down the street," right?
Right.
I'm right down the street, and then you can say, "I know you and your team are working extremely hard, and we want to keep you safe and healthy. So we're giving you and the employees, or your employees, hygiene kits for free. It's on us. It's just a way to say thank you. We wanted to say thank you and make sure we're taking care of you as well." And then wait for their reply, right? A lot of the times when we execute, we don't do it with confidence. And
Mm,
that's a huge thing. You have to have confidence. So think of yourself as like, hey man, I got to take care of my community. So I'm going to do this. Not like, are they going to want freebies? I don't know. It's kind of
right.
weird right now. Like you're just there's two rules I always tell like our students who are in the ground marketing course, like always execute and never assume. We assume so much, like they're not going to want to do this, they're going to like reject me, they're going to do that. No, just do it, right? Like
Right.
execute. Listen to rule number 1. And so you got to do it. And then you just wait for the reply. And always the reply is always positive because they know you're a dentist. They know you're in the medical field. They're like, oh my gosh, this guy has authority and he's taking care of us. He's going to give us hygiene kits, right? You're not saying freebies. You're not saying like, this is stuff we give to everybody. They don't know that. They just want like, oh my gosh, yeah, definitely. Come on by. Thank you so much for taking care of us. You can say, when can we drop them off today? You want to drop it off that day. And then schedule the time to drop off. And of course, when you drop off, don't just drop it off and leave your business cards. Drop it off with a sign up sheet. So when you're dropping off like even if they have 100 employees, just drop off 10 hygiene kits and say, hi, here's the hygiene kits. And at the same time, what we wanted to do is give you guys and the employees here and their families, boom, an incentive, right? It can be, I don't know, office tour, free exams. It doesn't have to be anything for free, right? It can just be, hey, we want to take care of you. If you need a dentist, just put your name and number down. When's a good time to pick up the sign up sheet? Next week, right? Or whenever. Then you come back and pick up the sign up sheet. You see leads and then you just give them a call, right? Simple as that. So that's how ground marketing works. You know what I
Mm,
mean? And that's
yeah.
like, you're doing that at a Whole Foods. You're doing that at, I don't know, like what's the other grocery store? Publix. Like, you're doing it
Yeah.
at,
We've got a Kroger right near my office, for example.
so yeah, basically that's how it is. And it's not just, and you can't use that one strategy grocery store to say like, okay, now I want to get into this corporation. Now I want to get into gyms. Now I want to get into this small business. Each location kind of has you have to pivot. You have to change it a little bit, right?
Okay.
And that the only way you can figure that out is, I mean, there's many ways, but if you just wanted to figure it out on your own, you have to do trial and error, right? Like you have to go in there and and try, execute, and know that right now, even before the pandemic, people still want you to help them out. So do that. Don't go
Mm,
in there with the intention of, hey, here's some stuff, help me out. They're not gonna, everybody's doing that, right? You got to
totally.
go in there and be like, hey, let me have some of your information. They're gonna say, what do you need this information for? You're gonna say, hey, I just wanted to have some information for our patients whenever they ask about your services or business or whatever, and then I can give it to them. They're like, oh my gosh, they don't know you have one patient or a million patients. They're just like, oh
Right.
my gosh, thank you so much for publicizing our stuff and giving it to your patients. Thank you for thinking of us. Then at that moment is where you're like, cool, awesome, thank you so much for your stuff. Is it okay if I give you some of our information as well? And like in the history of history, nobody's ever said, no, just take my stuff. I don't want your stuff. Right?
Right.
They're gonna say, yeah, definitely. Like, come by, drop off some stuff. Then you can drop off a sign up sheet. You can sign up people. I mean, you can do a ton. There's a lot where we can go with ground marketing. You know.
Okay, cool. So I love that example. So, and I understand how this is going to be different from place to place. So in the Kroger example or the grocery store example, you were bringing by hygiene kits for the employees. You reached out to the manager, set up a time to take it over. It's interesting, they're not the business owner. So the mindset from a manager of a grocery store, manager of a Costco, manager of some sort of store might be a little bit different than the mindset of the owner of a place, of a small business. So you brought over the sign up sheet. What if you wanted to then, and you're going to come back for that sign up sheet? What if you wanted to set up a booth outside of the grocery store? Um, how does that usually work, and how do you make the most of a booth setup?
So when you want to like set up a booth outside of a grocery store, let's just say you go back, you drop off some sign up sheets. I mean, you drop off sign up sheets, and also you drop off
Hygiene
some
kit.
freebies, right? Like
Yeah.
goodies and hygiene kits and stuff like that, right? So once you do that, that's like your opportunity to ask. Or when you're doing it the first time, that's your opportunity to ask, like, hey, you know what? I was also wondering, like, do you guys do any events or anything like that? I don't know. In the past, I know some of my colleagues have been able to set up outside of like some grocery stores and just give out information for people. I don't know if we can do that today. Is there a specific season where we're able to do that? And just inquire, right? Start asking. Sometimes they may say, oh, we only allow nonprofits like Girl Scout cookies,
Yeah,
right?
Girl Scout, Boy Scouts, yeah.
Yeah. And then sometimes they may say, like, yeah, sure, go ahead. Like Rite Aid, Walgreens, a lot of those locations will say, yeah. Or they'll say, you need to talk to corporate. But here's the thing, like, we ourselves, I've talked to corporate a million times, tons of times. And then they're like, Michael, yes, you can. Just do it. Let the store manager know. That's it. And then we call them back and we're like, hey, they just said to let you know. And then that's basically it. And then they're like, okay, well, I guess so. There's no problem. And then you just set it up outside, right? But that's the thing. You don't want to say, like, let's just say you're outside of, like, what's a good store? Like Rite Aid, right? You know how Rite Aid has toothbrushes, or like like Walgreens. They have toothbrushes, all that stuff. It wouldn't make sense to say, I want to give out the stuff that you sell for free. You know what I mean? It
Right.
doesn't make sense. So you have to say, I want to give out information. Maybe even slip in, like, I want to give out information about oral health care, oral cancer screenings, things like that.
Sure.
And then they're like, yeah, definitely. You can definitely do that. Sometimes you'll get a yes, sometimes you'll get a no. If you ever get a no, give it a couple months again and then do it again. A lot of the times we speak to the wrong person, we're speaking to the right person on the wrong day,
Mm.
or sometimes that person leaves, they quit, they don't care anymore. And then you're speaking to someone else new who is more, I guess, like, reluctant to do it. So basically, that's what you want to do.
With the booth, so you just talked about how to get it set up. Then once you've got the booth, um, how do you get people to approach you? Like, do you ever do like a giveaway, like a little spin the wheel thing, and what's your objective? Are you, getting people to sign up on an iPad? Are you just getting a name and an email and a phone number? How do you actually, because this I think would apply across the board on booths, but you just made a good point. You got to tailor your booth to where you're in front of. If you're at a community fair, sure, you could give out toothbrushes and toothpaste and floss, versus in front of a Rite Aid or a grocery store, you're taking away business from them by giving away the free stuff that they sell. So,
Yeah.
but as far as maximizing butts in chairs from a booth, what have you seen work?
Well, like, even in front of Rite Aid, like, I'll still give out toothbrushes, toothpaste, and floss. Yeah. But the funny thing is, like, even the managers come by and pick some up, right? And then they
Right.
sign up or stuff like that. So, I
It's
mean,
unless someone brings it up to not do that, you're probably
yeah,
safe to do it.
yeah, I'll always do that. I mean, I've never gotten a no at all. The only person who The only time I've ever gotten kicked out a couple times from in front of stores was because another dentist in that same. So here's the thing, anybody listening, if there's a prime location, like let's just say you're next to a Kroger's, and then right next door is a dentist,
Mm,
you're just assuming now. If you're thinking I shouldn't do it because there's a dentist next door, you're assuming. You're not. You never tried or anything like that. You're just
right.
assuming. And that's rule number 2. Don't assume, right? So still attempt it. So I've done that many hundreds of times where there's a dentist in the same shopping strip, and I'm setting up right next door, and then they're like, "Is that you?" And I'm like, "Nope, that ain't me. I'm over here." And then they go to our location, right? But
Yeah.
but that's the thing. Like the only times I've ever been really like kicked out a couple times was because the dentist in the shopping strip kind of complained, not to the grocery store person, they complained to the property manager of the shopping strip. And the property
Oh,
manager comes by and he's like, "Hey, next time just ask us for permission." But since they have like, I guess squatters right, I don't know what they have.
right.
And they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna ask you if you can like kind of like pack up and leave." And I'm like, "Sure, man, I understand, no worries." And then that's it, right? It's never like the grocery store people or the managers or anything that complain. It's always the person like on the strip, even somebody who's like not even in the strip. They're just like the stoplight over. They'll
Right.
even complain some once in a while. That's only happened once where there was like the other
Across
side.
the intersection or whatever.
Yeah, and they complained, and then the property manager came by and he's like, "Yeah, he actually has exclusivity around this whole strip." And I was like, "Oh, okay, I get it, no worries." And then I left, and then after that, I worked for that same person, and then yeah, so but the way the booth set up, you want to work the way it wants to flow as don't overdo it. Like I see a lot of people do like, what should I give out? Spin the wheels and win a prize and all these things and and you could. I'm not going to say not to do it. I've never done that, to be honest. I've never done a spin the wheel. I've never done, I don't know, like a ton of balloons or anything like that. But I know some people and some of our students who have, and they love it. Like if you do balloons and you see like a sea of your balloons everywhere, people are gonna want to know like where's that from, who's giving that, you know what I mean? So that's I think that's good.
Do you know what an idea would be right now? Would be if you did some sort of like themed mask. You gave out masks.
Yeah, like masks would be good. Like there's a lot, but honestly, like so for example, let's just say I'm setting up my booth. It's set up, right? All I really do, and I can send you guys like a picture, but it's like I put the goodie bags right there, or not the goodie bags, but the bag itself right there, closed. Then I put toothbrush, toothpaste, floss, and the mini mouthwashes right there. And then I'll put a business card. Well, the business cards are in the bags already. And then I'll put a flyer, and then like some other stuff like of a men's line and things like that. And so when people pass by, and here's the thing, people may not even pass by, but everybody who either walks in through that door, walks past by me, I make eye contact with whoever, even if they're wearing headphones or anything. I'm like, "Hey, how's it going?" That's it. That's it. That's all you gotta do. "Hey, how's it going?" Acknowledge them. Everybody. I don't care if, like I said, they're on the phone. I don't care if anything. You have to say, "Hey, how's it going?" or "Hey, how you doing?" to everybody.
Mm,
Then they're gonna look at you and be like, "Hi," and I'm like, "Yeah, it's free if you want any of it." And that's it. Just stay quiet, right? Don't continue. "Hey, we're your local dentist, and we would love to know."
right,
Just say,
right. Don't bombard them. Yeah.
yeah, just literally say it's free if you want any of it. And they're gonna come to you and be like, "Oh, okay, well, what is it?" They're gonna pick up a toothbrush and be like, "What is it?" You know,
Yeah.
they're just like curious. And then you just say, "Well, yeah, grab a little baggie and put one of each in there if you want," and then just point towards like the toothbrush and stuff like that. But the thing is like the name of the game is not convenience here. You want them to linger around and shop around, grab a little baggie, put one
Oh,
of each.
interesting. So if you pre-package the bag, it's like a swipe and go.
Yep, there's like, "Okay, bye," and then go. That's it.
If
And
you
then
if you force them to bag their own bag, it gives you more FaceTime. This is
yeah,
clever. This is the kind of stuff that I was hoping that you'd have for us, Michael. This is
you're
fantastic.
like everything before this was pretty, but
No, but this is good. That we're getting into some like nitty-gritties of like you've done this over and over and over, and you know, like, okay, you just need enough FaceTime with them to number one, like you get their attention, let them know, hey, all this is free. They come on over. They're like, what is this? And they start back. Yeah, grab a bag, and then you can take one of each. And
yeah,
they start doing that, and then they're probably gonna just out of being polite, they're gonna ask, oh, so where's this office? Or, like what's the most typical? Do you ever get some awkward person that just walks up, takes a bag, and doesn't say anything?
I've gotten dentists who do that, like from other places. They're like, "Yeah, okay, I'm actually the dentist right next door," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool. You don't have these at your place?" And they're like, "Oh, we do. We just, I think it's pretty cool what you're doing." And I'm like, "Okay, whatever."
That's funny.
But so we get a lot of the most awkward thing that you may get, and this is just a heads up for anybody, is somebody may say like, oh, okay, one of each. I have a husband or I have a wife. Can I get another one for them?
Mm,
Sure. I have 3 kids. Can I also get another one for them? Then you're like, you know what? Why don't you come by the office and pick the rest of it up? And then, you know what I mean? They can actually go to the office and pick the rest of it up
totally.
because you also got to let them know, like, we have to have enough for everybody else.
Right.
And then, I mean, if they're like, no, I want it all, then you're like, okay, you can go, like just take one and go.
Yeah.
You don't even want that person in your office, but that's never happened anyways. So anyways, they're getting the bag. You don't want it all in there already for people to grab and go. You want it all separated, all out. And then they're going to be grabbing it. They're like, okay, thank you. And then if you hear like 1 second of silence, literally count 1 Mississippi, then just say, actually, we're doing, and then you can say whatever incentive, free whitenings, free exams. We're giving you guys, the opportunity to come see us this whole month for you. Or if you're a part of like what's a gym near you right now?
There's a Lifetime Fitness.
Okay. So if like you're in Lifetime Fitness, for example, you can say like, actually Lifetime Fitness and us, then the name of your practice, partnered up this whole month to give you and your family or anybody who needs a really great dentist, right? This. It's an incentive, right? And then you just see what their reaction is. They can be like, oh, wow, that's great. Cool. And then you can just say, yeah, what everybody's doing is they're giving us their name and number. And I personally will give you a call to see when you and your family can come on in. What's your name? And then that's it, right? But here's the thing, and I want everybody to kind of do this, is when you have the sign-up sheet, let's just say it's a sign-up sheet. Let's just say we're not using the iPad right now. When you have the sign-up sheet, you want the sign-up sheet to be name, number, best time to reach them at, text or call, right? That's it. Not email address, because what if that goes to spam and all that other stuff? No,
right.
It has to be a number.
Cool.
And then text or call. And here's the thing, like when you are, when you're going to start the event, let's just say this is your first event, your first booth ever. I want you to write like 3 to 4 fake names down, right?
At the beginning.
At the beginning, yeah. 3 or 4 fake names and
social
numbers
proof
down.
Of like they walk up and they're like, oh, people are doing this.
Yeah, because they're like, okay, I'm not the first one. Cool. You know what I mean? But if they see that thing empty, trust me, I've done it. I've gotten way less signups than like someone who's like, oh yeah, there's 3 or 4. Cool, I'll do it. You know what I mean? And then they'll do it. Now, once you already have a sign-up sheet of actual name and numbers, you can just always put that one on top and then like flip it over, right?
Right.
So the more they see, they're like, oh my gosh, tons of people have been signing up. Let me put my name and number down, right?
Yeah.
And then they continue with it, right? And then you just write their name and number down. If you have local med, you can easily do that on your phone or iPad and be like, we have these openings, which one's the best one, right? And then actually put them on the schedule through your iPad or through your phone or whatever like that, right?
Right.
But other than that, I mean, or you can just literally bring in your iPad and then use your own practice management software, whatever you use, right? And then put them in there. But that's how you would want to do it with the iPad. But that's really it. You know what I mean? Like you saw, I didn't have like, hey, spin the wheel and, oh, let's enter you into a raffle. Because here's the thing. Let's just say 1,000 people enter into the raffle. One person wins. That person goes in, picks up the, I don't know, let's just say PlayStation, right?
Right.
Or whatever the raffle is. They pick it up. But what if they're like, oh, I already got a good dentist?
Right.
Right? And then that's it. And then what are you going to do with all the other people who signed up? Like, you know what I mean? Oh, well, you won our like runner up, or you know what I mean? There's a lot
not
more.
a reason to reach out to those people.
Yeah. Although if you do have like 100 or even 5 or even 3 runner ups or just other people who signed up, yeah, you got to make them all second place winners, and their prize has to be something where their butts are in the chairs. Everything has to be where like your butt is in the chair. That has to be the prize, right? So it's nice that you're giving out like, I don't know, like a PlayStation or a Nintendo DS or whatever, right? But you got to be thinking about like, how is this going to bring me a patient, right? It could bring you like likes and more brand awareness maybe, but I mean, if you're going for that, then cool, go for that, right? But if you like, I need production and collections right now. Like I need production right now. I need a butt in a chair. Then you got to start thinking more like, how am I going to get these people in here and sitting down?
Okay,
So
so the thing I love about this booth setup that you just laid out, it sounds like this works for anywhere or anytime that you would set up a booth. So grocery store, gym, even these like fairs, community, fall festival or whatever. If you've got that same very basic setup of baggie, stuff to put in the baggie, and a sign-up sheet, you follow that same formula, you're gonna come out with a list of names, phone numbers, and the best way to contact them, the best time to contact them. And by giving you that information, they're kind of expecting that you're gonna reach out. Um, and then you're gonna have that second phone call and maybe they will or they won't. You won't be able to reach them. But you've got these kind of warm leads that have expressed enough interest. They feel grateful that they got something from you. They got the free stuff. Your name is out there. Um, and one of the things I should have said at the beginning was that ironically, my day job right now for the Army is kind of a ground marketing job. I'm a medical recruiter for the Army. We're
yeah,
recruiting physicians, nurses, dentists, pre-med students, pre-dental students. And so we do table setups at hospitals. We do like presentations to classes and things like that. But and then we have to follow up with people. We have to reach out and call them. We've got a whole system for tracking all of it. Um, but we're always trying to come up with these different ideas of how can we get in front of our target audience. And we have to get it especially creative because when you're trying to get in front of physicians or ER nurses or OR nurses or dentists, uh, you have to be a little bit more creative than just any patient. Whereas as a dentist, the nice part is you've got a default set of locations. You've got this is my nearest gym. This is my nearest grocery store. This is another business in the same, strip or whatever. Um, and any person that walks by is a potential patient.
yeah,
So versus with us, if we set up at a hospital or a school or something like that, we're having to like qualify people. Is this person able to join the Army? Are they a nurse? Are they a physician? So
hmm
this works across the board. We should wrap this up for this first episode. We're going to do a part 2. I would love to get into maybe like another couple examples of different ways to partner with local businesses. And then at some point as a practice, you're going to get to the point where you're not doing this as the dentist yourself. You're having team members do this on your behalf. And so how do you scale this? How do you get a team member who becomes kind of the ambassador of your practice? And how do you, compensate them for that or incentivize it for them, help them succeed and train them at this kind of thing? Maybe they're not as good at this and they want to get better at it. So, does that sound good if we do a part 2 of this conversation and talk a little bit more about this?
yeah, man, sounds good.
This has been awesome. Where can people find out more about you if they want to listen to your podcast, your website, to take one of your courses? What's the best way to reach you?
So they can go to thedentalmarketer.org. They can listen to the podcast, and the podcast is The Dental Marketer. And basically, yeah, that's where you can find me.
Okay, cool. Awesome. This has been part 1 with Michael Arias. Chime in next week and you'll hear part 2. We'll talk to you next time.
Bye, guys.